Hello and welcome to this lesson where today we're going to be talking about carbohydrate metabolism. First off then, let's talk about what we mean by metabolism. So your metabolism is all of the biochemical reactions that are going on in your body at the moment. And these reactions are everything from controlling all of your body systems so that they're working effectively. So there's two words that it's worth having a quick look at and just finding out what they mean. So we've got anabolism and catabolism. So anabolism is when things are grouped together, molecules are grouped together to build a more complex molecule. Catabolism is the opposite of that. That's when a complex molecule is broken down into more simple ones. So to put it simply, if we have an anabolic reaction, that is where smaller molecules get brought together, joined together to produce a more complex molecule, and that requires energy. If we have a catabolic reaction, that's where a complex molecule is broken down into more simple molecules, and that produces energy. In terms of the energy flow from the nutrients that you take in your diet, they'll follow a series of anabolic and catabolic reactions. Anabolic reactions when we want to store the energy in more complex molecules, and catabolic reactions when we want to use that energy, break down the more complex molecules and release the energy stored within them. One thing that's quite interesting is that a university in America has mapped the entire human metabolism. And just to get an idea of how complex it is, we can see here these are all of the reactions that are going on in the human body all at the same time. We can see it's an incredibly complex network of reactions, lots of which are reliant on each other to keep your body functioning effectively. Luckily, however, we're just going to be concentrating at the moment on the metabolism of carbohydrates and fats. So as you should already know from the presentations on nutrition, animals store glycogen as a polysaccharide in the skeletal muscle and the liver. Glycogen is formed by a series of condensation reactions which link together molecules of glucose. Glucose levels are carefully controlled by the body. This is a circulating store of energy that is used when we need energy urgently. It's also very important for energy supply to the brain, as the brain relies purely on glucose to provide the energy it needs. Therefore, the body has some negative feedback loops which control closely the levels of blood glucose. If blood glucose levels get too high or too low, then they can cause some serious health problems or serious loss in performance. What I'd like you to do now is pause the video and have a think about the word that we can use to describe high and low blood sugar. Think about the word that we use to describe somebody who is overactive or who has high levels of activity. Then think about the words that we use to describe somebody who has a low body temperature or is really cold. The start or the prefix of those words is used to mean high and low. And the second part of the word just refers to the level of glucose. Hopefully you found out from a quick Google that in order to refer to high blood sugar levels we use the word hyperglycemia, and in order to refer to low blood sugar levels we can use the word hypoglycemia. As we just mentioned, blood glucose levels are tightly controlled by the body using hormones. These are produced and released in the pancreas. Normal blood sugar levels are controlled to about 90 milligrams per 100 milliliters of blood. The pancreas is the organ which produces and secretes the hormones which control your blood sugar levels. There are specialized cells in the pancreas called the islets of Langerhans, and the alpha cells within these islets of Langerhans produce the hormone glucagon, whilst the beta cells manufacture and release the hormone insulin. Insulin is a hormone which gets released into the bloodstream, and that reduces blood glucose levels. It causes the liver and the skeletal muscle to uptake glucose and store it in the form of glycogen. Glucagon is the hormone which performs the opposite task, and it increases blood glucose levels by causing the liver to break down glycogen into glucose, which is then released into the bloodstream. The body has negative feedback loops which control the level of glucose in the blood. A negative feedback loop is a feedback loop which instigates changes in the body to return it to its state of equilibrium. In this case, when we eat a meal and absorb the nutrients, glucose is released into the blood and blood sugar levels increase. This is detected by the beta cells in the islets of Langerhans. The beta cells then produce and release insulin into the blood. This then opens up the channels in the liver and muscle cells, allowing the glucose to be absorbed from the bloodstream, reducing blood sugar levels. The opposite happens if blood sugar levels decrease. This normally happens during a period of exercise when we've had insufficient food to fuel the exercise. This change in blood sugar levels is detected in the alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans. The alpha cells produce and release glucagon into the bloodstream. Glucagon then is detected by receptors on the liver cells, promoting the breakdown of glycogen into glucose, which is then released into the bloodstream, raising blood sugar levels. If we were to look at this graph here, we can see how blood sugar levels fluctuate around their average, caused by their continual management of insulin and glucagon. On the left-hand side of the graph, we can see that as we wake up, we'll wake up having fasted overnight with a low blood sugar. When we eat our breakfast, we're going to increase the blood sugar levels that we derive from the nutrients in our breakfast. That's going to be met by a release of insulin into the bloodstream, which then controls and brings back down the blood sugar levels. Naturally, this is going to overshoot our average and require the release of glucagon to bring blood sugar levels back up. This management of blood sugar levels is done by continually managing the release of insulin and glucagon. This is a continuing cycle by which the body controls blood sugar levels. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to research diabetes. What is it? What causes it? What issues does it cause? And particularly for a sports person, what might be the problems with someone suffering from diabetes? You should be able to distinguish between the two different types of diabetes and the treatments available for each.